Hello, John O'Flaherty, the B3 burner, and while I have downtime, I thought I'd introduce you to my flight simulation hobby and some of the items that I have that go along with it. A nice, powerful gaming computer that I recently upgraded the tower to run the program more smoothly. I have two screens I use, the main screen where the simulator goes, and then a side screen for maps and instructions and anything else that I want to look at while I'm flying or getting ready to fly. I have a keyboard for keyboard commands, simple things like lowering and raising the landing gear, or simple, especially binary commands. I have a joystick for actually flying the plane and operating the camera. I have a mouse which also helps rotate the camera and do certain commands and menu items that are for when I first enter the simulator. And then finally, I have a set of rudder pedals that I just bought that helps simulate turning the rudder and the wheels the way pilots really fly planes in real life with their feet, and not the twist joystick on the Z-axis, which kind of is broken and not very accurate anyway, accurate representation. I have a pair of headphones for when I record myself doing the flight simulation. And then finally, I have screen recording software, Bandicam. All this I use in concert, make sure that the event goes seamlessly and flawlessly, and that I have fun, and that you hopefully have fun watching it. So we're going to do a flight simulation event, my first one that I'm recording for Flight Sim 2024. We'll go from here, and I'll get back with you in a second. Okay, good afternoon, John O'Flaherty, the B3 burner, and this is a first look at Flight Simulator 2024. You saw my accessories the other day. Now you're going to see the game in action. So we hit start, and what you start with is a model of the globe of the Earth, and we have several choices: world photographer, activities, career, challenge league, marketplace, or free flight. We're going to select free flight, and we are in a Cub NX Cub bush plane. If you're ever curious what plane we're in, just to get started, it's in the information on the aircraft is in the upper left hand corner. I'd like to do a quick flight from Oscar 27 Oakdale. In fact, we're going to type that in. Oscar 27 Oakdale to KMOD, Kilo Mike Oscar Delta, Modesto City County Harry-Sham Field. Now, in reality, you don't have to enter a departure and an arrival. You could just say, hey, I want to take off from here, and then do whatever you want. But if you do pick a departure and arrival, it'll actually give you a flight path to follow. And notice that we come straight out of the runway and turn left over South Oakdale and continue over the farms until we get here, past the airport on the west side, make a right, make another right, make a right, then make a left for final leg, and then we land. So we're taking off on runway 28 or 28 in Oakdale and landing on 28 right. Based on the way the wind blows, if you take off in a certain direction on one runway and they're parallel to one another, like these more or less are, chances are you're going to land close to the same direction, especially if the two airports are close to one another, because the wind will not have changed much. Let's look at Oakdale. We're flying VFR and the wind is out of the west, 270 degrees at 2 knots. And in Modesto, it's 270 degrees at 2 knots. Let's get started. Start flight. Now, should have made it live weather. We'll talk more about the weather settings later. Instead, we're going to have overcast with middle clouds. It's going to be kind of dark and gloomy. And there you go. We're sporting good frame rates, 90 to 100. I'm going to turn on my Z statistics, and you can see this is a mess of stats, probably more than one needs to see, but we'll go through them real quick. We are 239 feet above sea level. The airplane is sitting on the ground, so the radio altimeter that measures actual altitude above the ground must be 5 feet above the airplane because it says 5 feet. QNH reading says 386. Now, why the difference between 386 and 239? Because our QNH, which is what our manual setting is at 30.08 inches, and the actual barometric pressure is 29.92. So in order to correct that, we hit on our keyboard the letter B, and then it jumps down to 29.92, and you can see that this number up here is dropping to 239, and now they match. This is the vertical speed in feet per minute. This is the angle of attack. That becomes important if you're trying to avoid stalls. We won't worry about that. This is latitude and longitude for Earth positioning. That's pretty straightforward. This is the heading that the airplane is pointing, magnetic and true. You can see that there is a difference of 12 degrees between magnetic and true here in Northern California. That's pretty darn close. That varies both by geography and by time. This is speed. In orange, I put the speeds, knots, indicated airspeed, total airspeed, which takes the blowing of the wind into account. See, we've got 1 knot of wind. So even though the airplane is standing still, it still indicates 0.9 total airspeed because it's picking up the 1 knot. And of course, we're standing still, so there's no ground speed. This is the number of G's. Right now, we're standing still, so we are 1 gravity. This is pretty self-explanatory, the time. Right now, it's 2:33. My computer time is 2:33, so I'm doing this at the same time as my computer. UTC, we're 7 hours behind UTC, so 14 and 7 is 21, 21:33 or 9:33 p.m. And this really isn't time related, but I put it there anyway. We're working with 50% fuel. I have unlimited fuel as my selection, so this is just going to sit at 50%. Green is having everything to do with weather. Outside air temperature 59. Actual barometric pressure 29.92. The QNH is what I changed earlier when I hit the B key, 29.92. Wind is out of 257 at 1 knot. 257 is compass direction 257. If 270 is west, well then that's 13 degrees to the left of due west. And then finally, black over white is frames per second, 44. Sim rate, 1. We can change the rate of the actual sim. For some reason, the frames indicated here is always half of the red number that you can't see but is up here. Actually, it flickers every now and then. You'll see it. We go outside. Let's look at the bottom indicators. This is my airspeed tape. It's repetitive to this. This is my engine RPM and my, I don't know what man-in stands for. I think it's engine 1 manifold pressure in inches. Fuel 50%, angle of attack 0 degrees. That's going to be the same as what's up here. This is my flaps. My flaps are lowered 16 degrees. We use flaps at takeoff and landing to basically increase or decrease our stall speed so that we can approach at a lower speed than we otherwise would be able to. It also helps slow the aircraft down. Trim, that's too high. You trim an aircraft so that you have a comfortable position where it stays level without having to pull or push on the joystick too much. And I don't like it at positive 10, so we'll put it at negative 10. This is my altitude. We've established that at 29.92 inches, we sit at 239 feet MSL. So there's the 239, there's the 2992. And then this is just a graphical way of showing that we are at 239. And then this is the vertical speed in feet per minute. It's the same number as what you see up here. The other thing I want to show you, these are our aileron controls. That controls the banking angle of the plane, bank left, bank right, and you can see that the wing surfaces are moving as I move my joystick from left to right. My elevator surfaces, which are over here on the tail, and you can see that as I bend the joystick forwards and backwards, that moves. And then finally, and this is where my new rudder pedals come in, because what I've done is I've detached the twist axis. It no longer does anything. Here's my rudder moving back and forth. And when I'm actually steering the plane on the ground, the wheels, the front wheel turns, which you don't see now, but we'll see it while I taxi down the runway. So we're going to hit the parking brake, and here we go. And you can see that I have a very hard time. I need practice holding it on center line. The quicker I get off the ground, the less you notice the mistake. There we go. That's what it looks like from the inside. Now, if I want to pause flight mid-flight to get out of my chair or stretch, and I don't want to lose my place, I could do that. Kind of cheating, but hey, we need all the help we can get, right? Now, I bring your attention to this is our electronic flight bag. Is an indicator of all the waypoints that help us get to where we want to get to, which in this place is KMOD. So we're going to center this, recenter on aircraft. Okay, there we go. So we'll leave this up just so we can see it. It's not blocking any crucial information. It just takes up the right side of the screen. Not that big of a deal. Okay. And while we're flying, we may as well raise our flaps. We don't need them after we've taken off. And what we want to do is come as close to following the magenta line as is possible. Now, we don't want to get too many feet above the ground because we're going to be landing pretty soon, relatively speaking. And what I mean to say is we don't want to approach Modesto and be 6,000 feet above the runway with it a quarter of a mile in front of us. So I'm gently banking. You have to use a little bit of rudder and a little bit of bank at the same time in order to get what you call a coordinated turn. If you use all aileron and no rudder, or all rudder and no ailerons, you will create a basically, I don't want to say an uncontrolled turn. It's controlled, but it's uncoordinated. The airplane is pointing a different direction slightly than the direction it's traveling, and that can make you or your passengers feel sick or nauseous because you're introducing unnecessary motion and side slippage. So if you bank the aircraft to the right, you also want to rudder to the right ever so slightly. Now we're ruddering to the right because notice that I was a little to the left of the magenta line, and I'm trying my darndest to stay directly on it and try to follow this. All right, so we're going to get back in the airplane where it's quieter. So you can see it's a cloudy, gloomy day. This is what you call a weather preset, and I created this weather preset and selected my own clouds and my own cloud height. Now, I did recently upgrade my computer with a new, more powerful graphics card, a more powerful CPU, a new motherboard, a higher wattage PSU, power supply unit. I'm getting about 115 FPS now, 120. Or if you prefer to believe the one on the left, it says I'm getting 60. Now you can see I'm drifting a little bit far off to the right. So now I need to correct to the left. Now we're at 5,300 feet altitude above the ground, and that's kind of not where I want to be. So I'm going to trim down a little bit to minus 25%. And if you look, there's the airport right there in front of the nose. So we're going to do a circle around. We're right in the vicinity, but we're going way too fast and way too high. So we're going to slow it down a little bit, bring down my airspeed so that I lose my altitude. This is the runway I want to land on, that right there. Now theoretically, and yes, this is all make-believe, it's a simulator, but we want to watch our speed. The aircraft stalls at about 40 knots. That's knots indicated airspeed, and now we're drifting left, so we need to be careful here. And now would be a good time to zoom in on it, and you can see more detail. We want to go straight and loop right, not curve right and loop left. So I'll tell you what, I'm going to do something else. I'm going to feather our props down, and that'll help us drop our airspeed. Actually, I'm down to 800 feet. Now I got the opposite problem. I'm way too low. That's Highway 99 in front of us. And all of a sudden I lost a ton of altitude. Didn't even know it. Taking this curve a little too far on the inside, too far south or too far left. And what I need to do, okay, I'm following the magenta line. I'm looking at that aircraft in the electronic flight bag map. Now I can start my turn. I'm at 65 knots airspeed. My eyes are all over the place looking at the various stats. My vital stats, I'm not turning soon enough. Now too far, be careful. We're at 900 feet above the ground. That's about where we want to be. We want to kind of, as we approach, do all these operations about 1,000 feet AGL, so that we're ready to land at a moment's notice. When we approach final leg, I'm going to lower the flaps. Because I've turned the propellers all the way back, or feathered them, so that it's really, really quiet, and our engine number one is only idling at 1900 RPM instead of 2700. Okay, so we're circling around. You know, I think I did this wrong. Remember, I was supposed to go straight on the TRDP2, not TRDP3. Okay, this was not good. And this is an example of why you need to pay attention to what you're doing. Okay, here we go. We are in final. So we quick turn, and you can see that we are at 2,000 feet. And we are way too high. I don't know how we got up that high. This is ridiculous. We're going to have to turn around again and get ourselves back down to about 500 feet. So we'll circle around. I didn't want to risk dive bombing and reaching a speed. Theoretically, if you go too fast for your aircraft, you can break it apart. Well, we don't want that happening. What's worse, a stall or overspeed? Well, if you're too close to the ground to recover from the stall, then both are equally as bad, equally as deadly. But if you have enough altitude, you saved yourself enough altitude to recover from the stall. The stall is much safer than overspeed, because you overspeed and stress the aircraft and the wings fall off, you're going to die no matter what. Stall, you at least have a chance of recovering from the stall if you gave yourself enough height in order to do it. In fact, student pilots practice stalling in order to get their pilot's license. They have to initiate and prove that they can recover from stalls as part of their training. Okay, this is much better. We're at 1,100 feet. Still a little high, but we can make this one. Okay. All right. We're a little right of center. Now we can bank. You can see these rudder pedals. Even if I'm not using the rudder all that often, or as often as I should be. Oh, I was supposed to set my flaps. Darn it. I forgot about that. You can see it's not wig-wagging all over the place like it did when I was using the twist axis. I'm a little right of center line. You know, my center line landings are not that good, but I'm going for smoothness. We float, but I'm going for smoothness. Double bounce, but it was less than 100 FPM. I'll use differential brake to turn left. That's a dangerous, dangerous turn, and I'll tell you why. The wing dipped into the ground. So let's look at our stats. Minus 77, 1.2 G, 56 knots, 5 stars, 15 degrees Celsius. That's not that important. Negative 1 degree, and it took me 27 seconds to bring it to a stop. Well, it's not perfect, but we did land. And it shows that I landed, well, it doesn't show my path in magenta. It just shows the proper path. The landing was runway 28 right. Okay, that on the electronic flight bag map. So we'll remove the flight bag map and we'll concentrate on the fact that in these small aircraft like these Cubs, it's very easy to dip a wing if you're not careful. Now I'm going to try to get myself out of this. So obviously that's not the way it's supposed to go. There we go. All right, we got it upright. Now in real life, we'd have probably crunched the propeller and bent the wing. So that would be a heavily damaged aircraft. And it doesn't take much to damage a plane. So now we're going to go back inside. You got to be really careful. The hardest thing for me is because I've done flight simulations with just a twist joystick. And this is the first time I'm learning to use rudder pedals, and it's tricky. This is the shorter of the two runways. It's probably the one I should have landed on, but instead I picked the bigger one. Come on, come on, come on, come on. Ooh. See, you squeeze your toes forward to brake, but you got to push your whole foot forward to turn. You know, it's counterintuitive if you're used to driving a car because you're used to turning with your hands. Here you turn with the feet. And those are some bright VASI lights. Let's have a close look at them. Yep, that's what they look like in real life. They're on a projector. Yeah. And the lights are projected by angle. So watch this. I get down there, they turn red. I get there, they turn white. I don't think it's gradual. I'm trying to see if it's gradual. Nope, supposedly not. Yep, that's what they look like. They look like movie projector lights, but they're very carefully angled so that anything above a certain angle it indicates as white, and anything below a certain angle it indicates as red. The red means you're too low, white means you're too high. In the case of 4, you want 2 white, 2 red. So let's go through here without hitting and damaging the lights. Get this way. I need probably more practice taxiing than I do flying, because I'm still getting used to these rudder pedals. And I have a office chair with wheels on it, and if I push too hard on the pedals, I push my chair back. While I'm pushing forward, my chair goes back. So I need to buy casters, aftermarket casters for the chair that lock. So we're going to go toward the hangars. Actually, let's practice parking by the other planes. And there they are. I would start slowing down so I don't own one of those aircraft. Let's get in between those. Even at idle, 1066 RPM, I've developed enough speed that I can taxi. It's kind of like an automatic transmission car will roll and drive even at a slow speed without having to hit the gas pedal. No, we got to get back in here. Okay, I see where I want to go. I want to get between these two airplanes. I certainly don't want to hit them. And that was close on the left, and this is really close on the right. Can we say too close for comfort? I should have parked at the end. Oh, I see what happened. The wheels turned. Now, I'm not going to tempt fate and risk hitting and owning one of those aircraft. So we're just going to stop over there. We'll hit the parking brake, and we will say sayonara and turn off the engine. Well, next time we'll talk more about the weather presets. I don't want to get into that. This is already long. I'm John O'Flaherty, the B3 burner, and we'll call it quits. So long from Modesto, California, KMOD Airport. Goodbye.